Hi, Gerhard Ritter here with a demonstration watercolour painting on brown packing paper. I'm using a Palomino 602 to sketch in with. Remember, this is just a sketch, it's not a finished painting, it's just to let you know where to start and place your paint. The best time to make changes is always when you notice them, so make sure you've got everything where you want it before you start putting in your paint. Here I'm using a mop to put in some burnt sienna and then a modified touches of burnt umber and some ultramarine blue. As I go along, I dry the painting with a hairdryer. That accounts for the appearance changes from dark to lighter tones. Working with a finer sable, I keep adding more darker tones, still an underpainting at this stage. I'm using a smaller, older brush to get this broken, furry type of appearance. Now I've switched to a fine sable to put in some of the really dark details. But work all over your painting, don't just work on one part of it. If you want to darken any colour you've got, just choose something else on your palette that is darker than the current value. Here I've modified the burnt sienna and burnt umber with a touch of blue. Once again, it's been dried, and now I'm adding white titanium gouache, which is really what I'd call a decking colour. It blocks out a lot of the background, although when applied in a thin wash, it's quite transparent. Gouache is still a watercolour, and so I can modify the edges with just clean water. And since it is a watercolour, you can modify the colour with any of the pigments on your palette. Keep in mind that this is a painting, not a photo reproduction, so if you're not 100% accurate, it won't matter because people won't get the reference picture you used to compare with. Continue making refinements here and there and use whatever you have, including your fingers if necessary. Blend some of the colours, tone down the white in some places, modify edges before we start to look at the surface or the grasses there. To help me modify the edges, I'm using a flat and then a different brush again before moving on to the grass. I mix my green for the grass with manganese blue, cerulean blue, yellow ochre. Once a little bit dry, I decide that I need to modify a bit more on the puppy itself. So restating a lot of the darks before going back into the grass to put a few more details in there, in this case with an old fan brush. Using a fine sable, I add touches of lighter colour to the grass, making it seem like there's detail when there really isn't. Remember, sign your work, and before you leave it, Any last minute touches, then take a reference photo for future. Thanks for watching. Bye now.